Welcome to the Double Dribble podcast. I'm your host, D.S. Walk. And it's been a fun-filled weekend of NFL football. Week 3 is officially over. We had some exciting games from the Eagles and Rams. Very exciting. And we have frustrating games like the Bills and the Dolphins, but the Dolphins didn't show up. And then we had that type of game between the Cleveland Browns and the Green Bay Packers where it was 13-10, nothing was moving, it was boring, it put you to let me know who scored a touchdown type of game. But overall, week 3 was very good. It ended with one of the most exciting games of the week, the Lions versus the Ravens. But before we get to that, I got some news that came out that I have to cover. Let everybody know what's going on around the National Football League. And it's not a lot. We got a couple players on to the IR. But let's get right to it. The New York Giants, who played one of the most frustrating games on Sunday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs, where they had an opportunity to do something really good and beat the Chiefs and get into the win column, but they dropped the 0-3. Why? Because their quarterback didn't show up. And I'm talking about Russell Wilson. For 2 out of the 3 games, Russell Wilson actually looked like a almost 38-year-old quarterback who is past his prime. Now, he had that one good game against the Dallas Cowboys. We thought that Russ is cooking, Russ is back. Even Russell Wilson thought he was back. Even Russell Wilson thought that I could still play. In actuality, he can still play because he's still okay quarterback. Not a very good quarterback, not a good quarterback. But either way, the Giants are 0-3. The offense has not been moving the ball. And their best player on offense, Malik Neighbors, has been very, very quiet. And because of that, the New York Giants had came to a decision to change quarterback as they bench Russell Wilson and they will start the rookie Jackson Dart, and with Jameis Winston is still on the team, by the way, but Jackson Dart will get the start. And I'm going to put this article, which was done by the New York Times or the New York Post. Actually, it was both of them. And Brian Daboll, he left that door open, a possibility making quarterback change at the end of the game. They had said that Jackson Dart had to hit certain milestones to be the starting quarterback. And I was sitting here thinking about that when they said that. And the first thing that came to my mind was that if my starting quarterback is playing bad, my job is on the line, and the GM job is on the line. If I'm going to go out with my best quarterback in a blaze and fire. I'm not going to let a QB who is not being productive cost me my job. Now, in hindsight, Jackson Dart, you probably wouldn't want him to play because you probably want him to hit those milestones. And you might want to save him till later in the season. And that you don't really want to go back on your word when you say, hey, you got to meet certain milestones to get in the game. But the one thing about Brian Daboll and Joe Sheen had to understand is that they don't have a lot of time. And that's why they made this change. When you lose 22-9 to the Kansas City Chiefs, to a team whose offensively is offensive, that's what I was trying to say. Where they can't run the ball, their 2 top receivers are out. Travis Kelce is playing like he's past his prime. And you see Andy Reid and you see Travis Kelce arguing on the sideline. They get a little frustrated because things are not the same. And your best player on the field, Patrick Mahomes, is running for his life and do all he can to help his team win. And he end up throwing the football to his 4th string wide receiver, who I won't mention his name because I don't know his name, but he made a couple of good plays. And you, the New York Giants, and you looking at this like, wow, look at that team doing whatever it takes to win, and look at us. Now, no disrespect to the New York Giants defense. They kept the game close. They kept their offense in the game. Offense just didn't show up. Offense didn't make plays when plays was there. So now you go to Jackson Dart, and yes, this young man has a big arm. Yes, this young man was one of the best quarterbacks in college football, one of the best in the SEC. But what's going to change with Jackson Dart compared to Russell Wilson? That's the question I would pose to anyone who's watching this video. And remember, make sure you like, subscribe, enjoy, and share this video. What would change with Jackson Dart in the starting lineup as a starting quarterback compared to Russell Wilson? Because that offensive line, as good as they okay with job they did with Russell Wilson, they're still not good. Jackson Dart gonna see all types of coverages from the opposite defense that he probably never seen before. What's the game plan? Because this kid has a big arm. This kid likes to go deep. So are we gonna run a lot of go routes, deep patterns for Malik Neighbors, or are they gonna be conservative with Jackson Dart? Because if you're gonna be conservative with the young man, you might as well go ahead and pack your bags, head to Cancun, enjoy your vacation with your family, because you're going to be out of a job. Now, I am intrigued to see how Jackson Dart going to play. I am intrigued to see what this offense is going to look like, because it can only get better because we've seen trash with Russell Wilson. Not saying he's a trash quarterback, just saying we've seen better. The New York Giants are in a situation where if they don't start winning, you're going to see a lot of player request trades. You think Dexter Lawrence is not watching the NFL and not seeing what the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that just beat him? You don't think he's intrigued on the Kansas City Chiefs or to the Baltimore Ravens or to the Cleveland Browns or to the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings? Doesn't have a few teams. You don't think he's looking around and think about what it'd be like to play for a contender? Playing on the Super Bowl contender teams, then playing on a team that's built for next year's draft, presumably trying to get a top 5, top 3 pick. You don't think many neighbors wants to win? That he's probably wondering, okay, this young quarterback help this offense? There's a lot of question marks down in New York. A lot of questions. And they had to answer those questions. In fact, they had to get those questions right. Brian Daboll was one of the most highest rated offensive coordinators when he was a coordinator for the Bills. He was wanted by numerous NFL teams around the NFL. He chose the Giants. Big market team. The spotlight's going to be on you. The media's going to be crazy, win or lose. You put yourself in this position. You call yourself a genius. Now you're up there wondering, question yourself, are you making the right decision? You have the answer to the test. Maybe we need to start using those answers. I have no high expectation for Jackson Dart because I don't expect Jackson Dart to solve all the issues with the New York Giants. I do expect the New York Giants offense to play better. I do expect the New York Giants to win a football game because of Jackson Dart. And whether Brian Daboll saved his job or not, I don't know. But what I do know is if they don't start winning, it doesn't matter who your starting quarterback is. You're going to be out of a job. And that's going to be on you. So good luck to Brian Daboll and the New York Giants organization, but congratulations to Jackson Dart for finally becoming a starting quarterback in NFL, something that most young quarterbacks dream of doing. He has the opportunity to do it in the Big Apple and playing for one of the most famous franchises, but also playing in front of millions of people across the tri-state area. And remember, Jackson, if you don't win, they're not going to look at you. They're going to look at that front office of the New York Giants. Then they're going to look at you. So, good luck. In other news, we have Michael Parsons making his return to Arlington, Texas to play against his former team, the Dallas Cowboys. And as Jerry Jones would say, this game against Parsons gives this extra oomph, gives that extra excitement to it. To who? To Michael Parsons? Yes. To the Dallas Cowboys? I question that. Michael Parsons looking forward to this game. He probably had this game circled the day he was traded to Green Bay. And on a side note, the worst day for me. Thank you, Dallas. You always find a way. You always find a way to get me. But it's okay. It's good. It's okay. No complaints. Michael Parsons' return to AT&T Stadium has Dallas Cowboys owner and Jerry Jones. I'm not going to call him a GM because he's not a GM. He's terrible at his job. Have you ever seen a GM who's so bad that you want that GM to be fired, but he can't be fired because he's also the owner, so he's not going to fire himself. He wants to rule the world. He wants to be the reason why his team wins, but never, ever, ever want to be the cause why his team is losing, why their team is suck, and why they had not got past the second round since 1995 and last time they won a Super Bowl. So Jerry Jones deserves all that credit, even when it's bad. Jerry Jones feeling some extra drive in his. I know they're not going to win, but that's pretend. Jerry Jones feeling some extra drive to win this week against the Green Bay Packers. Yes, I do. Jones said on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, of course, I said this time and time again. I think the world of Michael as the individual and, of course, know him well. I might say I wish him well, except it's obvious. I don't this weekend in terms of Green Bay winning the game, and so it makes for some extra exciting time. Jones was asked if he let his money get mad in trading for the Pro Bowl rusher. Not at all. It was nothing personal, Jones said. I told you, I like Micah. As much as people wanted to make that of it, there was no issue regarding feeling relative to the negotiations. Certainly, not on my part, it was just part of the course. Yeah, okay. And finally, Jerry Jones finished up with this. We should have continually been working on ways because when we got to the playoffs, almost invariably our vulnerability was able to stop the run. Now I really like our personnel we have in the run game that we have inside right now. Jones asked if the trade of Parsons could have happened sooner and allowed the Cowboys to get extra picks in the last spring draft. We needed this timing. We need to be right here at the beginning of the season. In my mind, to get the highest value, Jones said. I heard people talking about, why didn't you trade him before the draft? Because the draft picks become the most valuable timing. Why? When you have them in the offseason before the draft, that's when the pick becomes much valuable and the player becomes less valuable if you're trading a player for potential picks. Now, when the Cowboys traded Parsons to the Packers on the 28th for defensive tackle Kenny Clark and a first-round pick in the 2026 and 27, Jones said improving the run defense was as big as a part of the deal as a contract extension that could get finalized. The Cowboys was led by Javonte Williams, running back. I'm not reading no more. I'm sick of this. So another word what Jerry Jones was trying to say was that he messed up. He messed up. Because if you knew you wasn't going to sign Michael Parsons back, you would trade him during the draft or before the draft, get the picks that you need. You could have still got the defensive tackle you wanted. You probably got a king's ransom. And you could have started building your team the way that you wanted to build your team to compete for the next decade or so. You could have had two defensive tackles. You could have got a D tackle, D end. You could have got a D tackle, a D end, a running back, and a couple players from the Green Bay Packers. Or you could have got probably up to like 5 draft picks and a couple players from what team that you trade Michael Parsons to. I guarantee you, if you trade Michael Parsons to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they'd have gave you everything you wanted and then some. If you'd have traded Michael Parsons to the Carolina Panthers, they would have gave you everything you wanted and then some. If you'd have traded Michael Parsons to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you probably got the same package that you got for the Green Bay Packers. But the talent probably would have been much better. Jerry Jones dropped the ball on the Michael Parsons trade. Jerry Jones let his feelings to get the best of him because Jerry Jones used to get in his way when it comes to contract negotiations, where it's already been known that he negotiated with the players, not with the agent. And when Michael Parsons decided to get his agents involved, not agents, Jerry Jones, just like any kid, got his feelings hurt, went into the corner, started crying like a big baby, and he didn't talk to Michael Parsons or his representation for the rest of the summer. He was that girl who felt like her heart got broken, who already felt that she'd been dumped. So therefore, I'm going to ignore you. I'm not going to pay no attention to you, and I will talk to you on my terms when I feel like it. That was Jerry Jones' feeling. So instead of getting the best package for Michael Parsons and doing what's best for the team, you traded him to your rival. No, not the Eagles or the Commanders or the Giants. You traded him to the Green Bay Packers, a team that own your ass, that has owned you at AT&T Stadium, has owned you for the last decade or so. A team that's been a thorn in the side of your ass. And you decided to trade him, when I mean him, Michael Parsons, to the Green Bay Packers. Instead of shipping him to the AFC, or even to one of those rebuilding teams in the NFC, or one of those teams in the NFC who just one player away of making the postseason. No, you traded him to the Green Bay Packers, who's already a very good team, a team that's on the cusp of being a Super Bowl team. Now they are a true Super Bowl contender team who has the opportunity to get to the Super Bowl this year. Why? Because of Jerry Jones. In the process of that, he pissed off his entire fan base. In the process of that, he really made his team a top 10 team that be picking in the draft. Now, we already knew it was going to be like that anyway, because we expect the Dallas Cowboys to make the playoffs, but we do expect the Dallas Cowboys to show some type of life and be decent. No, he made them worse. Now, the only thing you can say he did was save money. The only thing you can sit here and say is that, well, I saved money, so now I can spread that money and I can go sign other key players who are going to become a free agent within the next year or two. That's all he did. That's all he did. He used Michael Parsons as an excuse to sign other players. He used this, what he said in this article, and anytime you see him, he refused to take the blame for dropping the ball or signing Michael Parsons. So now all of a sudden, you're ready to play against the Green Bay Packers and Michael Parsons because it gave that little excitement on Sunday. And my team gonna go out there and they're gonna win. Okay. You just gave probably the best linebacker, not only in this draft class, but the best linebacker in football, the best linebacker / DN in football. That extra to go out there and try to put a hurt on your quarterback, Dak Prescott, to embarrass your offensive line, to embarrass you. Good luck to the Dallas Cowboys. Because Michael Parsons is going to be a madman when it comes on Sunday. I mean, if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm looking at Jerry Jones, and I'm giving you all the dirty looks because this guy going to come out here going to try to kill this offensive line. This guy going to do everything he can to embarrass the Dallas Cowboys. If you don't think Michael Parsons, who wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy for the rest of his life, the rest of his playing career, and he gets traded to the Green Bay Packers, but he really wanted to be in Dallas, and he gets traded, you don't think he's not motivated to go out here and kick some butt? I think he is. Good luck, Dallas. I will be watching that game, some of it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans, one of the most prolific wide receivers in football, expect to miss 3 to 4 weeks with a strained left hamstring. Evans suffered the injury in the fourth quarter of Sunday's victory over the New York Jets, and MRI on Tuesday showed that Evans has a mild to moderate strain, according to sources. Evans has battled hamstring issues in the past, missing 3 games last season and 3 in 2019 because of injuries to his right hamstring. The 6-time Pro Bowler has 14 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown this season. The Buccaneers already have been without Pro Bowl wide receiver Chris Godwin, who is working his way back from ankle surgery. Wide receiver Jalen McMillan, who suffered a neck injury in the second preseason game, is not expected to return until after their Week 9 bye. Godwin could return to play in Tampa Week 4 showdown against the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. The Buccaneers went 0-3 without Evans last year, which also coincided with Godwin's injury. Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be fine. They'll be fine. They not prone to injuries at all at the wide receiver position. Chris Godwin, he's been constantly hurt in out of the lineup for the last 3 years. Mike Evans, the same thing. Now with Mike Evans, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the offense is going to look different because Mike Evans is that, what I said earlier, a prolific wide receiver. He's the type of guy where you throw a jump ball, he's going to come down with it. He's a great route runner. He's one of the best in the NFL. And the one part I will say the Tampa Bay is going to miss while he's out of the lineup is that Mike Evans is the leader on that team, a captain on that team. So on that aspect, yes, they're going to miss Mike Evans on that. However, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be fine because their young wide receiver, Emeka, I want to get his name right because I don't want him to pronounce his name. His name is Emeka Ibuka. He's still there. And he's been very good so far in the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. So the Buccaneers in that aspect is fine. And I know they have Miller, and he's been okay, but missing Mike Evans is going to hurt. But the one thing you say about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is that they still have talent on that team. They got one of the best running games in football. I think it was Rashad Evans. So they'll be fine. It's just going to make it tough for Baker Mayfield to push the ball down the field. But like I said, they got a lot of young talent there. They'll have to cater their game plans into passing the ball to the tight ends and running the ball a little bit more. But I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the better teams in the NFL, they'll figure it out. So Mike Evans will be missed a lot, but Chris Godwin should be coming back within a few weeks. And again, they got a young rookie receiver from Ohio State who's lighting the world on fire with his play. And if you see him last game against the New York Jets, you understand why I said they'll be fine. And on a side note, ladies and gentlemen, I hate ending things on a side note, and it's that former Auburn running back and Bengals Pro Bowl running back Rudy Johnson has passed away at the age of 45. There has been no word on how he passed away. The Cincinnati Bengals have put a statement out there saying we are deeply sad about the passing of Rudy Johnson. He was drafted in the 4th round in 2001 out of Auburn. He played the next 7 seasons with Cincinnati, where he finished his tenure as one of the most productive running backs in franchise history. He started 59 to 81 appearances with the Bengals. He finished his time in Cincinnati with 5,742 career rushing yards. That's the 4th highest total in franchise history. Johnson also scored 48 rushing touchdowns, good for 3rd on the team all list. Before he entered the league, Johnson had a prolific college career. In 2000, he was named the SEC Offensive Player of the Year in his only season at Auburn, where he carried the ball 324 times. That season for 1,567 yards, the 4th best mark for a single season in school history. He also had 9 catches for 70 yards and scored a total of 13 touchdowns. Auburn called Johnson one of the best to ever wear the orange and blue in a statement on X. Rudy Johnson passed away at the age of 45. He will deeply be missed, not only by me or by NFL fans, but he will be missed by his family, his friends, and it's just sad. It's really sad too when you lose someone, when you lose a former teammate who you played with for a very long time. It's sad to see someone pass away, but you just pray that they're in a better place and that God bless his family. My deepest prayers go out to them. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we watched a game between the Lions and Ravens that we all was prepared for, that we all thought that it was going to be a very good game. Half of the people thought it was going to be a shootout. Half of some people thought it was going to be a defensive game. I said defensive struggle. Woo! Definitely not. A lot of us picked the Baltimore Ravens to win. Now, when I was at work at a job, somebody asked me, what you think? You know, you think your Detroit Lions going to beat the Baltimore Ravens? At first, I was thinking, nah, I don't see it. I just hoping that they'll show up, play a good game, make it interesting. But then I came back, and another thought came to my mind. I said, you know what? I like our chances. I didn't get a reason why I said I like our chances, but I did. I really did. I like our chances. And I like our chances because I felt that we're a very good team. We are a Super Bowl team. And we can play with anyone on any given Sunday if we step up and play our game. If we can force teams play our game and we take away what they do best, we have an opportunity to win this game. And that's what happened. The Detroit Lions beat the Baltimore Ravens 38-30. The game won't close. All right. That was a late touchdown score. If you want to be technical, right, they should have won. The original score is 38-24. I had never seen a group of defensive players get physically move around and move out the way by other grown men. That's if you're a football player, that's embarrassing. As a former football player who played the defense position, when you physically get moved 5-10 yards back by another man, that's embarrassing. And that's what we seen last night from the Lions, what they did to the Baltimore Ravens defensive line. They moved them boys back 5-10 yards. When you seen David Montgomery gashing that defensive line, it was, for me, it was poetic injustice. Poetic justice. Because Dave Montgomery, who everybody said got old, he's not the same player since he got hurt towards the end of last season. He's a number 2 running back. He won't have a big impact on his team this season. I think everybody was wrong about that, boss. The Baltimore Ravens did everything they could to stop the Detroit Lions running. In the beginning, they did. They were slowing down Jahmyr Gibbs. They won't let him run between the tackles, or they bounced to the outside. David Montgomery come in, he gets 1 yard, he gets 2, then the 2 start turning to 5. They got away from the zone read, the zone runs, and they started playing Detroit Lions football. Smash mouth. We're going to punch you in your face. We're going to move you back. And our running back is going to get these yards. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens line, they know what hit them. Actually, they did know what hit them. They just didn't know how to stop it. But then this is the part that we all kind of forget, that if we watch when the Lions had the ball on the opening drive, what did they do? They started throwing to Jameson Williams. Why? Because that opened up the running game. See, usually the run was set up the pass. In this aspect, they started off the pass, set up the run. See, they used J-Mo to set the run. And when the Ravens seen that, because we know that they don't want to get beat deep, because Jameson Williams is the fastest guy on the field. They ain't want to get beat deep. They play zone. They ain't want to play man. He was finding the spots in that zone. He just sitting down, caught the ball. Boom, boom. I think he had like 4 straight catches. Then they started running the football. They started running the zone run, then work. So the next possession, they started getting physical. They started pushing people back. They started gashing that defense. And next thing you know, 151 yards later, David Montgomery took off. Technically, the official yardage for the Detroit Lions running the football, 224 yards. In fact, I got the stats right here. The Detroit Lions ran for 224 yards compared to the Baltimore Ravens 85. Jared Goff was 20 for 28 for 202 yards. And Lamar Jackson was for 233 yards and sacked 7 times. Jared Goff, no INTs. Time of possession. And this is an important one. The Detroit Lions held the ball for 33 minutes and 18 seconds. The Baltimore Ravens had it for 26 minutes and 42 seconds. Now you look at that, you said it's not a very big disparity right there. But actually, that's very important. Because if you hold the ball for 30 plus minutes, you're dominating down line of scrimmage. If you hold the game for 30 plus minutes, you're dominating the other team's offense and the other team's defense. Lamar Jackson had nowhere to go. Now, if you were a betting man, if you bet on FanDuel, you bet on DraftKings, and you had Lamar Jackson going for 50 plus yards, I'm sorry to feel bad for you. Actually, I don't, because the Detroit Lions held him in check. The Detroit Lions held him in check. Lamar Jackson couldn't get started running. And when he did get started running, he was getting sacked 7 times. When he did run the ball with Derrick Henry, who scored a, I want to say, 28-yard touchdown run. And that was a big highlight on the running game right there in the first quarter. Derrick Henry was not Derrick Henry. They shut him down to the point where Derrick Henry, late in the game, Aiden Hutchinson looped around, didn't get him first, took himself out the play, hustled back, knocked the ball out of his hand. Derrick Henry fumble. That's 3 in 3 games, and the Detroit Lions recovered. This is where we at, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we at. The Detroit Lions, who we watch in week 1 and get caught a beat down by the Green Bay Packers, has bounced back, won 2 in a row. And the question's always been out there since week 1 loss. What's wrong with the Detroit Lions? If this team is still a super contending team, is this team going to take a step back? Is this team good without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? Is Dan Cameron know what he's doing? What's going on in Detroit? There are question marks. This team is not going to win their division. I think Detroit Lions answered all those questions. I think we know that this team is very good. Ain't that lost a beat. I think we know that this team is going to be there at the end. They're going to compete for a championship. But you got the Baltimore Ravens, who second best player, Derrick Henry fumbled 3 times in 3 games. 3 fumbles in 3 games. In fact, 2 big fumbles in 2 games. One against the Buffalo Bills when they was up 45-20. Or 45-26, whatever that score was. Or 40-25, I don't remember. And now against Detroit, 3 fumbles in 3 games. And now we're questioning, is he still the same running back? I think he's still the same running back. I think it's a mental. I think it's all mental. Because once you fumble once, you worry about, are you going to fumble again? Oops, you fumble again. Now you kind of wonder like, damn, please, Lord. Please, Lord, don't let me fumble in this game. Please, Lord, give me the strength to hold on to this football so I don't cost my team any points. So I don't be the reason why my team loses. Give me, Lord. Please let me hold on to this football. Please let me hold on to this football. He didn't hold on to the football. Now, that ain't the reason why they lost, but it contributed to the loss. And if you're Derrick Henry or John Harbaugh, it's a mental thing. And that's where you got to see it as. It's a mental aspect. Derrick Henry just need to go out here and just, play football. He didn't fumble at all. Well, I should say he did not have a fumble situation problem the last 2 years. He didn't. Now, he does. So it's a mental situation. Go out there, play football. If you fumble, you fumble. But don't make it an issue. Don't make it a problem. Derrick Henry and John Harbaugh and that Baltimore Ravens team has to understand that this is the way a lot of teams are now going to play Derrick Henry because they can't tackle him. You can't stop that locomotive when he's going downhill. This man is 250-some pounds, and from the time he gets the ball to the line of scrimmage to the time he scored that touchdown, he run at 11 miles an hour. That's Jahmyr Gibb type speed. So you can't stop him. You can't slow down. So you do the next best thing. Knock the ball out of his hand. If you see Derrick Henry runs the football, he doesn't run the ball loosey-goose. Now, he can't tighten it up a little bit between his arm and his armpit. He could tighten it up a little bit there. Make sure he does it, but Teams are going for the football when he runs the ball because they can't tackle him. They can't stop him. Teams themselves, a lot of teams. You seen the Lions yesterday? They dedicate 8 guys in the box, sometimes 9 guys in the box to slow down Derrick Henry. Because they know the run is coming. Now you see teams not dedicate this past season so far. They're not dedicating that much to stop the run. Sure, 7 man in the box, sometimes 8. Go for the football. We tired getting run over. We're tired of this man. Once he gets going, nobody's not going to stand in his way. So this is how it is with Derrick Henry. He is just going to have to protect the football and secure the football with 2 hands now. He's going to have to. And even if he fumbles with 2 hands on the ball, that's because the defense do all they can to get the ball out of his hand. But that's not the problem with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens lost because their defense is not good. Now, granted, they're not playing with 3 of their most important defensive players. We get that. They're not playing with their best air rusher, not playing with their sack leader, and not playing their best defensive tackle. We understand that. We get that. Duly noted. But even with those guys on the field, this Baltimore Ravens defense is not good. They're not good at stopping the run. They dedicate a lot of resources to stopping the pass. But they're not good at stopping the run. And a lot of teams on tape sees that. So they know that you play Baltimore Ravens, you don't have to run a zone scheme run. Just run the ball straight up. Man on man on. Man on man. Tomato, tomato. Potato, potato. Go at them. Run at them. Because they can't stop the run. That's the issue with Baltimore. It's not Derrick Henry's fumble. It wasn't about containing Lamar Jackson, which that did play the huge part. Because if he gets going, it's lights out. It was all about that defense. No matter what the Detroit Lions do, they couldn't stop them. And Detroit Lions really didn't get going like they usually would. A Detroit Lions game where they usually on is when Sam Laporta is almost at 80-plus yards. Jameson wins over 100. Amon-Ra St. Brown over 100. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery over 100 yards apiece. And Brock Wright would have got some catches. And Craig Reynolds would have got in the game, the third string running back. If those things happen, then you know Detroit Lions offense is on fire. They were simmering yesterday, but they weren't on fire. So you got to give Baltimore passing game some credit there. Now, David Orr is in hot water. That's the defense coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. He needs some hot, stinking doo-doo. Because he's going to have to fix this D-line. John Harbaugh is going to have to find out what's wrong with this D-line. So those 2 guys are going to have a lot of work to do in this short week. Even though I just said all that, the Baltimore Ravens still going to be there at the end. I was watching Get Up. I think it was on Get Up at First Take when they said, we don't judge the Baltimore Ravens they do in the regular season. We judge them when they do in the postseason. How that might be true. The Baltimore Ravens used preseason for regular season. Then we judge them in the postseason. But we have to stop doing that. Because we now officially have to start judging the Baltimore Ravens in the regular season, but mainly regular season big games. Because they're going to be in big games. This ain't the only big game they're going to be playing. Okay? They got the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings. They got the Kansas City Chiefs. They got the Houston Texans. And they already played the Buffalo Bills. They got spanked. And they're on the division. They got the Steelers. We just seen them play the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns is not even one of the top teams in the NFL or in the AFC. but they are hard to beat because that defense is one of the best you ever gonna see this season. And they gotta play them again. So the Baltimore Ravens, they have so much questions that need to be answered and answered real quick. And I say this also not to be funny or not to throw it out there, is that John Harbaugh has been coming up short, small, not only just in big games and postseason games. If the Baltimore Ravens don't get to the Super Bowl or hoisting that Super Bowl trophy at the end of the season, are we going to start questioning John Harbaugh and his status as head coach of Baltimore Ravens? Are we going to continue to give him excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse? Or are we going to start holding accountability to him and start asking these questions? Is he still the right man for the job? Because he's been in Baltimore for over a decade. He's been there for a while. And we got to start questioning that. Just the same way we question Bill Belichick. Same way we question Sean Payton. Same way we question any head coach that been with one team for a long period of time and they don't produce when they got one of the most talented teams in the NFL. And when you have probably one of the best QB/weapons in football and you underachieve year after year, where you can't beat the Buffalo Bills when you're the better team, and when you can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs when you're in the AFC Championship playing on your home field and you lose. We got to start talking about that. We got to start mentioning John Harbaugh coming up short. And we got to start talking about, is he still the right man for the job? Because you can't continue to go in every season and you guys that picked to go to the Super Bowl or picked to be one of the best teams in the NFL, not in the AFC, in the NFL, and you come up short because you can't win big games when it matters. Lamar Jackson doesn't, I think, has like either 2 playoff wins, 2 or 3. It's not a lot. With that caliber talent at the cornerback position, one of the best running backs in the backfield, one of the nicest receiving corps. You got one of the best young receivers in Zay Flowers. You got one of the best safeties, Hamilton, in the back. Marlon Humphreys, corner. From 1 to 53, the Baltimore Ravens is one of the best talented teams on paper and on the field. If they come up short this season, we got to start talking about, do they got the right man to lead them to the Super Bowl? Because we did it with Andy Reid when he's with the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles fired him because he was coming up small, coming up short every time in the big game when it matters. And now he went to Kansas City for a second act, and now look at him. We don't question Andy Reid winning big games because the man won 3 Super Bowls. We don't question Andy Reid winning big games because he has a big game quarterback. We don't question Andy Reid with anything anymore other than, how long are you going to coach? That's where we at with Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's where the Baltimore Ravens need to be at. On the flip side with Detroit Lions, that's a great win. That's a great win because now they shut up all their critics. But it's just one game. They got a game full of big games on that schedule. They got to face the Packers. They got to face the Chiefs. They got to face the Buccaneers. They got to face the Steelers. They got to face the Rams. Who else? The Eagles. They got to face the Commanders who beat them last season. They got to face the Vikings, the Bears again. So, yes, they won a big game against one of the best teams in football. But you have to keep going from there. The Detroit Lions going to have to show up every game and prove to the NFL that they're still that same team for the last couple of years. But here's the caveat. They can't not be the same team for last year or the year after because they have to get to the Super Bowl. They need playoff success. Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes got this team in the right place. They got them playing some good football. They are in the middle of thick of things, but they're still not better than the Eagles. The Eagles are still the best team in football. They're the best team in the NFC. And for the Detroit Lions to get to where the Eagles are, they got to win big games and stay healthy. I'll admit, I was one of those few guys, one of those few fans who wanted them to go out and get another DN. Go out, trade with Trey Henderson, or trade for a good defensive end that's going to help. But I heard something, I think it was Troy Aikman say yesterday, or Ryan Clark, it was somebody who said they thought about doing that, but they didn't because they didn't want to sacrifice their defense in depth. In other words, you trade for one, you have to give up one. And they didn't want to sacrifice what they have because, like last season, when you lose over 30 defensive players at the wrong place at the wrong time, that sticks to you. That reminds you every time that, hey, when it matters, we had no defense because everybody was hurt. Yesterday, they showed that their depth means everything to them. That this team is going to be built on their young players and the players they sign and on their depth. They not sacrificing their depth. So, with that said, they got to come through. They got to show up and show out every big game. And they got to win most of them. This is just a start for Detroit Lions. Now, are they going to have this? Is their running game going to be like this every big game? Probably not. But with that said, though, they have to continue to win games and continue to force teams to play their style of brand. They're going to have to be creative. Because Jared Goff is not going to have a game where he throws no INTs. He's going to throw some picks. But be able to overcome them is always going to be the question with the Detroit Lions. When they're not playing their best game, they got to find ways to dig deep and win some games. They got to be able to get up and play every team and don't get like a days on when you play a team like the Arizona Cardinals or a team like the Carolina Panthers who you're not up for and you let Goose say you can't do that. Cannot do that. So for Detroit Lions, it's all about staying on task. It's about continue to believe in the system, believe in your culture, and just go out here and win. Yesterday was a good win. Now let's see what they do against Cleveland, a team that has an all-war defense and no offense. It should be a good game. But then again, the Cleveland Browns, they snuck by and beat Green Bay 13-10 on the last second field goal. So when you got a guy like Myles Garrett coming around the corner, you know what? Myles Garrett count as two defensive ends. So if you find a way to slow him down, and if you find a way to weed through that defense, find some open spots in that defense, you got a chance to win. Because we've seen this defense frustrated Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Jordan Love. It's going to be no different with the Lions. But the Lions just got to make enough plays to win the game. That's all. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning into the Double Dribble podcast. And remember, like, subscribe, and enjoy. And also, like, subscribe, and share. And I'll be with you later on to talk about some good old NBA and my favorite player in the league who doesn't do anything at all but load management and chill and still make money, Kyle Leonard. You are live with DS Walk. And thank you for listening. And I am out. Peace.